Hello and welcome to the Stool Pigeons. I'm Harrison Davenport.
And I'm Jack Jameswood.
Jack, I believe you have a story for us today.
Yes, this comes from r/cheating stories. The title for the post is Women Cheated on Me in the Past, Not Sure About the Present. This is a throwaway account for reasons that will be obvious. I'm getting married in a couple days, and I guess you could say I'm having trouble distinguishing what's real from what's not. I have nowhere else to go to explain my situation. I've loved 3 women over the course of my life, and except for my fiance, the 2 women that I've loved cheated on me, broke my heart, and betrayed me. I grew up in a medium-sized town, a college town with a population of about 10 to 15,000 people. I should say, growing up, I never had a strong relationship with my mother or father or my siblings. As soon as I graduated from high school, I moved out and got my own place. I've always wanted to be independent. I've always wanted to make connections with other people. Maybe because of my family situation being strained, it explains why I wanted a family more than anything else. But only in the last year or so have I been mentally well enough to consider that as a possibility. Backstory. I finished college during the Great Recession. When I finished, I was aimless and worked 2 jobs. Everyone told me at the time that if I wanted to have a career, I would need a master's degree. So during the day, I put in shifts at a warehouse and did landscaping on the side. And at night, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I worked toward a graduate degree. Through some other students, I met a girl who was much older than me. Let's call her Anna. Anna was petite, half American, half Thai, who loved classical dance and art history. I was 23 at the time, and she was about to turn 30. She liked all the things that I liked. We ran into each other on campus, and sometimes we would run into each other at bars, where we would chat up, and I would occasionally smoke weed with her, and we would drive around the country and listen to music. I assumed our relationship was going to be just a friendship. I mean, she was gorgeous, and I'm just, an average-looking guy. Looking back now, it seems naive, but at the time I always thought people who were 30 were sophisticated somehow, that people at 30 knew the answers to important questions. Over the course of several months, our friendship turned into a romantic relationship. I had always been in love with her, and I think I convinced her to be in love with me. Anna also had a child, let's call her Aaron, who was around 5 when we started dating. Her biological father had abandoned the family and moved away, so her earliest notions of family reminded me of my own, or I could relate to it at least. I took it upon myself to be as close to a father as I could be. I wanted a family, and I wanted both Anna and Aaron to be a part of that family, and it was kind of a family for about 3.5 years. I got into a routine where I would go to work and come home for lunch, and then I would come home for dinner. I would play with Aaron and read her books and do the best I could. I guess I was a lot more traditional than I thought I was. I told Anna that it was okay if she stayed home and that I could work my 2 jobs while I finished school. Sometimes in bed, we would plan our futures and the good things that would come. Maybe I'm looking back on all this nostalgically, but looking back on those years, they were years and memories of bliss. Anna and I would still drink and smoke and have fun together, but like every couple, we had our fights and disagreements. We had good days and bad days, but overall, my life was good. Then one day, my neighbor, Evan, who lived across the street and came in and out of our house because we had something of an open door policy. We would keep joints rolled up in an old cigar box, so it wasn't unusual for Evan to just come inside and kind of help himself to whatever he felt like. Me and Anna had a similar open invitation to his place. If we needed alcohol or peanut butter, we could just walk over there and grab some. One day, I got a text from Evan during my lunch break, and he said he was about to open the front door when he saw Anna and one of my closest friends kissing. Evan said they didn't see him. The guy she was kissing was named, let's call him John. John was short and not attractive, but he came from a wealthy family and was about to finish his medical degree. He didn't live in town, but lived about 2 hours away in a much larger city. I don't know if he was lonely or didn't make any friends in the city, but he seemed to really enjoy making the occasional trips into town once or twice a month. I texted John and asked, "Are you driving home this weekend?" He responded, "I am, but it probably won't be until later this evening." I texted Anna and asked whether she would cook up something for us all to eat that evening, and then I said casually, "Oh, did you know that John's coming in tonight?" She acted surprised, like she didn't know. Now, I was about an hour away, and it was normal for me not to get home until 7 or 8 in the evening. I told my warehouse supervisor that I had a family emergency and had to leave early. On the trip home, I considered that maybe Evan, who's not the most reliable or the most sober person I knew, could have made an honest mistake. And then I texted Evan, "Well, is there a car besides Anna's in the driveway?" I described what John's car looked like. Evan texted me back and said no, Anna's car is the only one in the driveway. At first, I was worried, but as I neared the house, I kind of chuckled to myself, thinking Evan must have been high or just saw something. About 7 miles out, I got a call from Evan, and he told me the car, the make, and the model that I had described to him earlier was parked on the other side of the street, which Evan wouldn't have noticed originally from the angle of his front yard. I texted John and Anna and told them I might run a little late this evening and to start dinner without me if I've not come back by dark. John texted me back and said, "Yeah, I'll probably be getting in just a little bit before you." Anna texted me and said, "That's great, I'm just cleaning up the place." Evan and I approached from the backside. I opened the door and the two of them came running out. Everyone was screaming. I tried to take a swing at John, but I missed. He clocked me and I hit my head against the wall and fell down. Evan chased down John and beat him up pretty good in my driveway. Not long after that, the police showed up and they arrested Evan. I felt bad because I didn't have the money then to bail him out, so I apologized to him the next day. He told me, "Don't worry about it." It turned out for the last several months, John and Anna had been texting and calling each other while I was at work. I guess she thought it was a safer bet in the long term, financially speaking, I mean. We broke up, we both moved away. She moved in with John. I think the whole thing only lasted a couple of months. It probably took me a year to really get over the whole thing, the betrayal, the lying, the deception. Eventually, I moved back to my hometown and started seeing a girl, Alex, that I'd known since high school. In reality, I was in love with her, much more than she was ever in love with me. We dated for about 2 years and lived together for almost 1. Eventually, she got a job offer in Colorado. She would be making almost double what she was making where we lived. Anyway, Alex ended the relationship as she moved, saying, "I don't think our relationship is sustainable with us living so far away from one another." I told her, maybe I could get a job out there, but she told me not to because she just wanted to start over. Now, you remember Evan from earlier? The guy who I trusted and thought had been a close friend? Well, I learned a lot about him about a year ago. While drinking at a bar, I met up with a mutual acquaintance, the guy who used to sell weed to both me and Evan. At some point in the conversation, the story about Evan getting arrested came up and we had a good laugh about it. Then I said something positive like, "Man, Evan was such a good guy. He didn't even complain when I told him I couldn't bail him out because I didn't have money." And the mutual acquaintance gave me a weird look. He said, "Man, I figured you would hate Evan since he screwed both Anna and Alex." Apparently, none of my close friends or anyone else had told me that Evan had been sleeping with Anna even before John, and the reason he punched John that night and wasn't too upset that I couldn't bail him out was because Anna and John had gotten together and she stopped sleeping with Evan. It had nothing to do with him being a close friend or even liking me. And it turned out when Alex moved to Colorado, she continued seeing someone from our hometown, and it was Evan. In fact, she had been sleeping with Evan when we were in a relationship. It took me months to integrate all this information. The only 2 women that I felt I'd ever loved before my fiance had lied to me and cheated on me. Worse still, everyone around me knew about this except for me. I can't tell you how humiliating and devastating this was to my psyche. So you might be asking, what does all this have to do with you getting married in a couple days? So cut to today. Who do I see attending the rehearsal dinner for my wedding? Evan. He came with my fiance's friend from work. It turns out she knows Evan. They all work together at the same bank, although my wife and Evan work at different branches about 30 miles apart. Maybe this sounds paranoid, but I want to know what you guys think. Is it irrational for me to believe that maybe my fiance has slept with Evan? I know this sounds very delusional, but every serious relationship I've been in over the last 15 years, except for this one, Evan has slept with a woman. I don't think he knows that I know about Anna or Alex. Plus, he didn't act awkward around me. And in some ways, it was nice to talk to him because I really don't care about things that happened years ago. And even though there's no connection between him and my fiance, other than he's dating her friend and that they work together at the same regional bank, there's still a part of me that thinks somehow maybe he has slept with my fiance. To be clear, I have no evidence of this. In fact, I don't think she would or has, but I guess I've been traumatized by the past and just can't get that possibility out of my mind. As you can imagine, I can't tell anybody this secret fear because I know it sounds so ridiculous. Right now, I'm telling myself that all of this is just in my head and I'm anxious and nervous about the wedding, and also fearful that if Evan slept with my fiance, it would be too much for me to even bear. But in the past, the world I believed in also collapsed under the weight of reality. Anyway, a part of this was just the process of writing. It's been therapeutic to write all of this out. I think I just have a lot of issues with love and betrayal that stem from the past. I know this particular situation is not something a lot of people have faced, but I'm sure there are people who have been cheated on multiple times, and maybe they could just give me some insight into whether I'm making too much out of coincidences or not. Thank you for reading and any helpful advice you can give me. So, Harrison, did we have any comments for this story?
Yes. So our first comment comes from AlThaf7788. He writes, just ask your fiance and tell her what you're feeling about this guy. If you hold on to these insecurities for so long, it will affect your relationship with your fiance. So my advice is to open up about your feelings and insecurities and ask whether she had any romantic relationship with Evan before you both met. Throwaway, the original poster, writes back, that's what I've decided to do. I guess I just didn't want to come across as delusional or paranoid. Thank you. Straight Goods 30 writes, I would be honest with your fiance about Evan, as he is dating her friend, and you may need to associate with them from time to time. You don't have to give her the full story unless she asks, but at least tell her you don't particularly like him, as he knowingly and continuously slept with both of your exes while being fake friends with you. Also, keep an eye out and watch their interactions with each other, and if things look off, address it right away. Android Mulcher 117 writes, just ask your mate. Sounds like you want to be absolutely sure. Throwaway, the original poster, writes, it's strange how I didn't consider this solution in the beginning. It's so simple, but something I overlooked. And finally, Juice writes, went from not liking Evan to liking him after he beat the shit out of John to completely not liking him at all. Throwaway, the original poster, writes, that's the way I felt for years. It's very hard to think for years someone is a close friend for it all to have it turned out to be something entirely different.
Well, let's hope, Harrison, that he doesn't do any more updates, because I think it would be pretty devastating for this guy if Evan cheated on him with his fiance and I guess presumably this week his wife.
Yeah, I couldn't say it any better than that. Okay, Jack, well, you want to go ahead and get out of here?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, please remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for listening.